We're good, Shelby.
Okay. Good evening. It is 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 7th, 2020. This is the regular City Council meeting for the City of Sandpoint. I now call the meeting to order. My name is Mayor Shelby Ronstadt, presiding in Council Chambers at City Hall, 1123 West Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, Council members Shannon Sherman, Deb Rule, John Darling, Kate McAllister, and Andy Groats are present. Council members Darling, McAllister, and Groat are participating here in Chambers. Council members Sherman and Rule are participating remotely. Councilman Aspiro is absent. We will now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Council President Shannon on her recent marriage. With this happy news also comes a name change. So congratulations to Councilwoman Sherman. All right. Are there any announcements from Council? Any announcements from staff?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We received notice today that the Ponderay Bay Trail will be closed tomorrow between 7 in the morning and 5 p.m. They're doing, Friends of Ponderay Bay Trail is doing some work on tree maintenance and possibly some tree removal along the trail. So for the public safety, the trail will be closed tomorrow from 7 to 5.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Our town enjoys the designation as Tree City USA, with the mayor proclaiming Arbor Day in Sandpoint each year. This year, due to the coronavirus, we cannot hold our usual Arbor Day celebration in April. Nonetheless, I would like to recognize the significant date on the city's annual calendar and read this year's Arbor Day proclamation, as it's better late than never. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. Whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and around the world. Whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving up paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Shelby Ronstadt, Mayor of Sandpoint, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 24th, 2020 as Arbor Day in the city of Sandpoint, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. And fall time is a great time to plant a tree as well. So, Kim? As Director of our Parks and Recreation Division, thank you for receiving.
Thanks, Mayor.
Appreciate it. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to recognize some employees of the city for their achievements. Human Resources Director Nicole Goes will provide a presentation. Nicole, go.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me okay with my mask on? I wanted to take this opportunity to recognize several city employees who have successfully obtained a job-related certification or license within the last quarter. We are proud to have such dedicated and hardworking employees such as those being recognized this evening. We regularly receive many compliments and words of praise for our employees from our citizens, and we are delighted to have such a valuable staff like you. On behalf of our citizens, we appreciate the effort and the time you have put into your professional development. One of our adopted strategic priorities over the past 2 years has been investment in and support for further development of our employees throughout the city. You have each displayed great enthusiasm to learn and grow professionally. To show our appreciation for your work and conduct, we would like to present each of you with a certificate of recognition for your accomplishments. We'll be making a presentation by division, and I would ask the division head or his or her representative to join me in recognizing your staff. We would also ask the staff to remain up at the podium until the end of the presentation so that we can capture a photo. First, we have one employee in the IDS Utilities Division who was unable to attend this evening, so I will accept the certificate on behalf of Rod Burgett, who obtained his Water Distribution Operator Class 2 license. Thank you, Rod. And next, in our Streets Division, we'd like to provide recognition directly from LTAC, who was unable to attend due to COVID restrictions, but has asked us to read into the record a letter of recognition. We did recognize these employees with their certificates at a previous meeting, so this is strictly from LTAC. Dear Mayor Ronstadt, the Local Highway Technical Assistance Council, LTAC, Training and Technical Assistance Center, is part of a national program known as the Local Technical Assistance Program, LTAP. The T2 Center provides training and technical assistance to meet the needs of all highway jurisdictions across Idaho. With increased demand on the transportation system and new construction technologies comes the need for more diverse skills and knowledge necessary for maintenance and preservation activities on roadways and bridges. The LTAC T2 Center focuses on education and training of local agency employees. The T2 Center program curriculum is designed to provide participants with the fundamentals of safety, maintenance, and professional development. There are 2 levels to the program. The first level is Road Scholar, which requires approximately 40 hours of instruction. The second level is the Road Master, which is an additional 40 hours of instruction, much of which builds upon the materials learned during the Road Scholar program. Many of the courses have an exam which requires an 80% score to pass. The LTAC T2 Center would like to recognize the following employees from the city of Sandpoint for their accomplishments. Anthony Hendrickson, who completed the Road Scholar and Road Master program. Chad Larson, who completed the Road Master's program. He also completed the Scholar program quite a while ago and was recognized by LTAC then. Chet Jackman, who completed Road Scholar and Road Master. Sean Henderson, who completed Road Scholar and Road Master. And Zeb Platt, who also completed Road Scholar and Road Master. Our LTAC Council sees the importance of recognizing staff for their achievements at a city council meeting. Unfortunately, at this time, we cannot present in person. Please accept this letter into your minutes, recognizing your staff and their achievements. As a result of their successful completion of the program, each person will receive a framed certificate plus an additional award. Road Scholars receive an embroidered hat and an engraved Leatherman knife, and Road Masters receive a Carhartt jacket. The employees will also be recognized in a future LTAC publication. We congratulate these individuals for their successful completion of the Road Scholar Master Program. Sincerely, Layla Krall, Deputy Administrator and T2 Manager. And finally, we'd like to recognize employees in our police division who have obtained a specific Idaho Peace Officer Standards and Training certification. Post certification. First up, we have Lieutenant Stephen Chamberlain, who obtained his management post certificate.
Are we going to get them up at the dais?
Yeah.
Chief, are we getting you up with your people at the dais?
Should we get them on?
Yeah, why don't you all stand up here and just wait for everybody and then.
Let's get everybody up there.
All right, so Lieutenant Stephen Chamberlain, who obtained his management post certificate, and we also have officers David Hopman and Officer Matthew Nelson, who have obtained their basic post certificates.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right.
I know it's that'd be good.
Yeah.
Wear the masks.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
So we know what you look like.
Hold your breath.
If we can get a round of applause for these gentlemen.
Steve, do you want to say something?
Just really quick as they walk back and they run away to a call. For that management certificate, there's 100 hours that goes into that after your basic. So when these guys go to their basic police academy, they're gone for 10 to 12 weeks. They complete that course. It's over 400 hours. They come back, they go into another 10 to 12 weeks with the police department. So you think it takes, this isn't just something that when they get their basic certificate, there's a lot of work and time, not only on the officer's part, but the family members that have to put up them being gone. And even when they come back and they're in that program, they're dedicated to another officer for that 10 to 12 weeks with us when they get here, plus this probation period after that. So that even that basic, there's a lot of work that goes into it. That management certificate, there's 100 hours of just supervisor level training that has to be accomplished in like 3 years. And so those are big accomplishments within the police department. So I appreciate not only the officers, but their family members that actually put up with them and us doing our career. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. We will now proceed with the public forum portion of the meeting, which gives the public an opportunity to address the council regarding items not listed on the consent calendar or any topic not listed on the agenda. I'm sorry, items that are listed on the consent calendar or any item not on the agenda. Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak online in the public forum?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there anyone here presently who would like to speak on the public forum? Okay. That concludes the public forum. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills is $1,375,250.52 for regular payables. Are there any items council wishes to remove from the consent calendar? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion that the consent calendar be approved.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I would like to call attention to one item on the consent calendar, and that is renewal of our contract with Lake City Law Firm, who's been with us for the last year. And I want to call attention to this because I think this was really a wise move that the city has made a year ago now, moving with Lake City Law Contracting. We used to, of course, have our legal services in-house. And the transition to Lake City Law was really positive for the city, not only because it saves us roughly $150,000 a year, but in addition to that, it gives us much more access to a broader array of specific skills within the legal field, rather than relying on one person to kind of be an expert in everything across a range of legal issues. But I'd like Jennifer to add to that if there's any explanation, any specific explanation around the savings being realized under this contract arrangement that you'd like to speak to, or from the staff's perspective, what it's been like working with Lake City Law this last year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you mentioned, one of the reasons from moving from a single legal advisor that is on our city staff to really contracting with a legal firm was to get the expertise from a broader team from Lake City Law. We work with Andy as our city attorney, who's involved in all of our contract issues, our day-to-day business with the city across all of our divisions. And in addition to that, we have Fonda Jovic, who is not participating in our full meeting tonight, but you will see her at future meetings, and she's been in past meetings of council around land issues, particularly hearings that come before council, any land issues that we're dealing with. And she also serves as dedicated legal counsel to our Planning and Zoning Commission, as the land issues are really her expertise. So we've also worked with Peter Erblund over the last year, obviously, around litigation. He's an attorney we've been familiar with over the years as he serves as one of the senior attorneys that is referred to by ICRIMP. So in cases where we have litigation brought against the city and ICRIMP is representing the city. In the past, we have had on our staff in terms of legal, we've had a full-time single civil legal attorney. In addition, we've had a full-time city prosecutor, and then we've had about 1.5, sometimes 2 FTE legal assistants. So that's really where the cost savings comes. If anyone's wondering, it's not from a single attorney on staff then to a law firm. We had support for legal counsel within City Hall. So by going with the team, that's where we realized the savings. This also includes our prosecution. We have a contract currently with Bonner County Prosecutor Lewis Marshall. So when we're talking about the savings, it's across our whole legal front in terms of civil as well as prosecution support at the city. And we very much have appreciated the partnership, the advice with Lake City Law, and we feel confident moving forward that actually we'll realize greater savings as we see cost of living increase, costs associated with staff when we have personnel employed at the city. And what we've seen over the last about 6 months is kind of a month-over-month decrease in our cost for legal services as Lake City Law has gotten on board. We've gotten processes in place, standardized contracts, some of those things in place where we don't need to call on them quite as much as we did at the very outset. So we expect the number to be even greater going into next year.
That's great. And I would just say on a personal and professional level, it's really been a pleasure to work with Andy and Fonda both. They've been very responsive, very professional, and I'm just really pleased with their service to the city. So thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Grote,
Yes.
Councilman Darling,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rule,
Yes.
Councilwoman McAllister.
Yes.
Motion passes. The first item under old business this evening is the Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation State of the City Report. City Administrator Jennifer Stapleton will introduce this item, and the representatives from the city's master planning consultants are here with us online as well. Jennifer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council will recall that we undertook our first ever effort of master planning, broad master planning around arts and culture and historic preservation. Late this spring, we kicked off this effort and hired a consulting group of the Lakota group, who really specializes in historic preservation audits and consulting, technical assistant, and master planning. And as they proposed to respond to our RFP, they had partnered with another consultant, Sorrell Phillips, who has significant experience in the arts and culture arena. So we really got a win-win with the partnership of Sorrell and then the Lakota group coming together for a singular arts and culture and historic preservation master plan. Unfortunately, Nicholas is not able to join us tonight. He presents he lectures as a class at a university, and he is there tonight. And Sorrell is with another group that she's doing some consulting with. So on their broader team, we have Douglas and Siraj, and they will be presenting on the initial report. This is kind of our baseline for what we're doing and moving forward with this planning, their state of the city report. So based on their multiple day site visit this summer, conducting an inventory of arts and culture assets as well as historic preservation assets, meeting with stakeholders, our steering committee, and the results of a community survey. This report that they'll be presenting to you tonight is the state of the city as it stands relative to arts and culture and historic preservation. Next steps in this effort will be in the next couple of weeks. We will be scheduling a meeting with our steering committee for this project, and we'll be moving forward with action planning and prioritization and looking at funding resources. And that will come back to council later this year or at the latest by early January for a full plan presentation, master plan moving forward for council to consider and hopefully adopt. So with that, I will hand it over to Douglas and Suraj. I don't know which one of you is on first to kick us off, but I'll hand it over to the team.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to provide you an overview of the phase one. As she mentioned, we were hired earlier this year, and we have been working, our team has been working in Sandpoint and with the community to prepare this, what we call the State of the City report, which is basically phase one of the project. And it's going to provide basically an existing conditions, basically existing conditions of what we found after we spoke with the community. And I am here as well with my colleague Suraj. And as Jennifer mentioned, we're a Chicago-based firm. We specialize in planning, historic preservation, and landscape architecture. And we're very pleased to be working here at Sandpoint. And I am going to turn it over to Suraj to provide the overview for you. Suraj?
Disappearing.
Hello?
Yes, there you are. We hear you.
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm having some internet issues. Can everyone hear me?
I see
well?
it now.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you, Doug, for introducing. And thank you all for making time this evening. My name is Suraj Asfahani. I'm a project manager at the Lakota Group. And forgive me if I'm repeating some of the stuff that Doug already mentioned. I was just having some technical difficulties. And the Lakota Group is an urban planning and historic preservation firm based in Chicago. And Lakota, along with Sorrel Phillips, a Florida-based arts and culture consultant, were engaged by the city of Sandpoint to put together the first arts, culture, and historic preservation plan for the city. So tonight we're hoping to give you a snapshot of progress and where we are. And we will be walking you through the plan objectives, our planning process, and some of our engagement findings, along with the structure of the State of the City report and some of our highlights, key findings. So with this planning process, we're aiming to create a vision for arts, culture, and historic preservation in Sandpoint. And that is based on Sandpoint's heritage and building off of its creative arts community. And on the preservation side, this plan will identify future landmarks and future historic local districts and national districts potentially, and along with a number of other preservation initiatives to help strengthen preservation in Sandpoint. This planning process will also identify and encourage partnerships in Sandpoint to help make our vision and really the Sandpoint community vision for this plan a reality. So as Jennifer and Doug mentioned, this planning process started in June of 2020 and is divided into two phases. The first phase, which is state of the city phase, is really our snapshot in time of what we heard and what we've seen. And it's really our analysis of existing conditions in Sandpoint. So in the first phase of the planning process, we initiate our engagement conversations and we start summarizing our key issues and opportunities. All of our key issues and opportunities come from quantitative analysis that we do including research, and qualitative analysis, which includes stories that we've heard and conversations that we had in Sandpoint. And the final result of the first phase of this planning process is what we call State of the City Report. This is what we're kind of summarizing in this presentation. So the second phase of the planning process takes these key issues and opportunities and vet them out more. And that's where we start creating our goals, our initiatives, and our strategies. And we also put together an implementation timeline for all of these initiatives to be implemented in the future. And we also identify key funding sources and key funding strategies in order to make this a reality. Our team, along with Sorrel Phillips, is working really hard to make sure that this planning process is finalized by November of this year. So State of the City Report. This snapshot of existing conditions is divided into 4 main chapters. So the introduction section really introduces the planning process and sets the stage for arts, culture, and preservation initiatives moving forward. And then the second chapter and the third chapter, respectively, are for historic preservation and for arts and culture. And while we've divided those 2 topics in State of the City Report, our aim moving forward is to merge arts and culture and historic preservation in goals, initiatives, and strategies, because we really see value in marrying the 2 together. The final chapter of the State of the City Report summarizes our engagement outreach process and our findings from the engagement process, and also highlights our key findings from all of the research and conversations that we've had that will definitely be vetted out in the second phase of this planning process. Community engagement. Yes, community engagement is very important to every planning process, especially for us here at Lakota. So what we've done is we organized, with the help of Jennifer and our team, we were able to organize a week of engagement in Sandpoint. And while we were there, we conducted listening sessions with the steering committee and with local stakeholders, including arts and historic preservation commissions and other arts and preservation organizations. We also took a tour of downtown Sandpoint, and we were able to walk around a lot of Sandpoint's residential neighborhoods. We luckily were able to set up a tent at the farmers market to try and engage the community at large. And our conversations didn't really end there. While we came back to Chicago, we continued our conversations via Zoom, and we were able to engage the SHPO office, Idaho SHPO office, Preservation Idaho, and other local stakeholders, including the owner of the granary site and much, much more. And in parallel to all of this engagement happening, we had an online survey that was online for 3 weeks, and we were able to engage the community at large through that survey. So here are some of the things we heard from the engagement process that we conducted, and they're only snapshots. There's a lot more in the State of the City Report. So on the arts and culture side, the majority of the community saw Sandpoint as an arts and culture destination, but they also emphasized the need for more music, dance, theater, and art festivals in Sandpoint. On the historic preservation side, the majority of the community saw that historic preservation is very worthwhile in Sandpoint, and they also emphasized the need for additional incentives in Sandpoint. So all of our analysis that we've done, quantitative, be it or qualitative, led to what we call key findings. And as I mentioned before, these will be vetted out in the next phase of the planning process. And what you're gonna see today is just a snapshot of key highlights, but there's, again, a lot more to look at and review in the State of the City Report. So when it comes to arts and culture, we heard that there's a need for additional affordable and accessible art spaces, and that there's a strong value in having additional marketing and communication efforts that are more Sandpoint focused. We also heard that there's a need for an organizational entity to take up the leadership role when it comes to arts and culture initiatives in Sandpoint. We also noticed and heard that in Sandpoint, arts and culture is a great asset, and it really adds to the community's economy really well. However, when it comes to the local non-profit organizations, they could be a little bit stronger than they are right now. And unfortunately, their revenues have been declining over the years or recently, even before the pandemic hit. As it comes to historic preservation, what we've heard and what we noticed is that the majority of preservation and inventory of key buildings really are in downtown Sandpoint. But when it comes to downtown Sandpoint particularly, there isn't much protection for these buildings. And so this protection and control over what happens in downtown, whether it be for existing buildings or new infill developments, can happen through design review and through local historic districts. However, to try and make this idea of design review and local historic districts more palatable for for property owners in downtown, it would be recommended to provide some financial incentives for them to be able to maintain their buildings and also improve their facades, which also helps maintain the integrity, architectural integrity in downtown Sandpoint. We also heard and read from previous architectural surveys that were conducted in Sandpoint that there isn't much integrity in residential neighborhoods outside downtown. And our team saw a great potential for adaptive use in and around Sandpoint downtown. And we also saw a great potential in additional outreach and educational initiatives to help keep the Sandpoint community more engaged when it comes to preservation. So in terms of next steps, we're hoping to bring this document in front of the steering committee, and we're also hoping to upload the document to the project's website for community feedback. And as I mentioned before, we will be developing our key findings into goals, initiatives, and strategies, implementation steps, and funding strategies in the next phase of the planning process. So with that all being said, anyone has any questions?
Any questions from council?
No, I would just like to say I read the report and I thought it was very fascinating. I thought it was great. So good job on that. I enjoyed reading it.
Good to hear.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this matter? Oh, we have a gentleman. I don't know if you signed up on a comment card, but if you could do that after you come forward, that'd be great. Please come forward to the podium, state your name and whether or not you reside in the city. And if you can keep it to 3 minutes, that'd be great.
Adrian Cox, and I do reside in the city, 429 South Boyer. And I assume probably that the findings might be posted eventually online. I'd just like to have the opportunity to review that if possible.
Absolutely. They're on our website right now, right? You can go to, if you just go to meetings, they're listed right now this moment under meetings, it's an agenda item. So you can review it there.
Thanks.
I think they'll probably be
Yeah, they'll be on the front page of our website as well later this evening.
under news and announcements.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where you'll find them after tonight.
Makes sense. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cox. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Anyone online, clerk?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moving on. Thank you again for that presentation, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You as well. Moving on to new business, the first item is a request from Sandpoint Community Resource Center for a letter of support from the city for their planned extension as a federal housing and urban development and vision center. SCRC Executive Director Linus Jelinek is here to provide a presentation. And Linda, are you joining her as well? Okay, Linus, please, floor is yours.
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, I botched your last name.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Mr. Mayor, council members all, Madam Administrator, thank you for time on your agenda tonight. I'm honored to be here representing Sandpoint Community Resource Center. And I am here to ask your support to support us in a new way and maybe even a new place to help people in need. And the ultimate goal is to help people become more self-sufficient. A couple things up front. We serve the ALICE population, which is asset limited, income constrained, employed. It's the working poor in our county. It's about 48%. People who live on a knife edge financially, where one unexpected expense creates a spiral and oftentimes into an insurmountable crisis. And we know if we can catch them here before they spiral, that we save money and resources on the entire system. And we also serve those who are actually in poverty. And we have a new population of people that we serve as a result of COVID-19. And those are people who have never had to ask for services before. And that number has been significant. And let's see, so the Envision Center, we have a goal to work together with other service providers, nonprofits, business leaders, you all, to turn the dial on poverty here and really move people into self-sufficiency. Another thing up front, we maintain our autonomy. We stay the same 501c3 we always have been. We are not becoming a federal agency. It is an affiliation only, and actually HUD becomes an advocate for our entire community. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So what is a HUD Envision Center? It's a place, it's a centralized hub, and many of you know the work that Sandpoint Community Resource Center does. We serve as a hub already, and we really are a hub of referrals to resources. No actual services being provided. And this is where it's gonna switch it up a little bit. We're gonna work with all nonprofits, local agencies, Department of Labor, Department of Health and Welfare, service providers, and we're going to hopefully get under one roof, and all of them will participate, but not all the time. So some people will come and rent space with us. Some people will come once a week, once a month. And until we figure out what our rhythm is for our resource center here, it's going to take, just a little bit of being flexible of who's going to actually be on site all the time. There are so many organizations doing amazing work here. And we've all heard the term, are we doing a hand up or a handout? And my observation, 2 years as the first ever executive director, and Sandpoint Community Resource Center has been here for a decade. My observation is that I see a real danger in that we meet needs, but we ignore people. And I believe personally that that's why we're not seeing sustainable change. And that's why the number just keeps going up. We're not turning the dial down on self-sufficiency. So whether we're going to address situational poverty, generational poverty, or relational poverty, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all the nonprofits that are already working to help people. It's going to take community leaders. It's going to take business people who are willing to come and share expertise, share wisdom, possibly mentor someone for the people that really want to change their life. I am under no delusion that we're going to help everybody, because we're always going to have people with mental health issues, substance abuse issues, disabilities. They're always going to be with us. And we're always going to help them because that's what we do as a community. And so that's what HUD and Vision Center is. And everything we do will go into 4 pillars of success: economic empowerment, educational advancement, health and wellness, and my personal favorite is character and leadership. And that's going to be the rails that we run on. So you can go to the next slide, please. So why a HUD affiliation? It's not showing up over here on hers. Right there? There it is. Thank you. So, not to belabor all the points, but it's a deliberate effort to coordinate delivery. And if you've helped people in need or you've been in need yourself, you know that the worst thing you can do to someone in crisis is say, here's a $25 gas card. Now go out to the department later, go to the food bank, and please help us out that way. And we lose them. The best time to help someone is when they're right in front of you. And that's why if we could be centralized and give this coordinated care and integrated services, we're gonna turn the dial. We really are gonna turn the dial. We tend in nonprofits to work in silos. Everybody's focused and we're all doing our thing and we're staying mission centric, but together, coming together, we can really become an unstoppable force and fight this fight of poverty that is so high here. I mean, with poverty and the Alice population, it's over 50%. And I came from Truckee, California, which is Lake Tahoe area, so saw that area really grow as a resort community. And I see that this community, the same thing is happening. The people who live and work here and make this such a wonderful place can't afford to live here. And so, let me see. So powerful third-party endorsement. I've talked to a lot of our foundations that fund us, Columbia Foundation and Idaho Community Foundation. They're really excited. And this is going to provide us leverage to access new funds and new grants that we've never been able to before. Increase access to programs. We don't have the bandwidth, no nonprofit does, to go find all the programs that are available to underserved rural areas. And what HUD is going to do as an advocate for us is bring them to us and say, here, this is available. Does it fit with what you're doing? And because we're not tethered to them financially, we have the ability to say, no, doesn't fit for our community, or yes, it does. So that's it. Next slide, please. I'm trying to move really fast. These are the advantages. These are the same advantages I presented to my board on August 13th as new business and asked them to come along on the journey and just explore whether this was a fit for our organization to move forward to really try to bring the services together. It's mission-centric. Our mission statement is simply, we're dedicated to bringing hope to people who don't know where to turn. And we've just added, by creating one place for those in need to access resources leading to self-sufficiency. You can read the points. I think that one of the things this is going to really do for us is really strengthen the relationships with existing stakeholders, and we're going to draw in new ones. And I think the best part for me as an ED, there's no financial investment. So they just want to, we're an underserved rural community, and that's what Envision Centers are about. We will be the second one in the state of Idaho, and the fourth one in all of the Northwest. There's one in Spokane, one in Oregon, and there's St. Vincent de Paul in Coeur d'Alene just got their designation, and we will be the second in Idaho. The coordinated efforts are really going to help us show us gaps and overlaps, and that's where we're going to efficiently deliver better services and catch people before they spiral. Next slide. Our partners, that's pretty self-explanatory, and our clients. Of course, there are subcategories to all of these, but this is who we're working with. Next slide, and my last slide. So our timeline and next step. I am here to ask for a letter of support from the city, and this becomes part of our commitment to becoming a HUD and Vision Center. We are there. The team from Seattle is coming in October to do a checklist, and we are having a stakeholder meeting because they want to talk to some stakeholders. We're going to talk about MOUs. We're going to start press for all of the partners who are going to be involved, and we're looking for a building. We need like 10,000 square feet, and I know there's buildings around, so if anybody has any ideas, I'm open to talking with anyone. We are looking right now out at the Sandpoint Tech Center. There's a lot of space available there. I'd rather stay in town, but I need space. And the launch, we're going to do a soft launch in December because we hope that Dr. Ben Carson would come and do a ribbon cutting if we have a building. And the SCRC, we enter our second decade in existence in January. So I want to launch this as a decade of dreams to our community. And because I believe in a decade, we can definitely turn the dial. And I really think in 3 to 5 years, we can turn the dial. So I would appreciate your support. I would appreciate you being an ambassador for this project. And my door's open. Call me anytime. Come visit. I think we can make this happen.
Thank you, Ms. Jelinek, for that presentation. Appreciate that. Does council have any questions?
No, but I have a comment.
Yeah.
I just want to say that when I first came to the Chamber of Commerce, Dave Peets came to visit me and said, I have this idea for a one-stop shop. And so I'm really proud of all of you that in the decade that this is where you have gone. And I highly encourage anybody here who's never taken the poverty simulation that you really should, because then you'd have a better understanding of what it is to take that $25 card and have to run all over town for all these services. So I just want to commend you, Linus, on this. And it's really, I think it's really exciting. I think that it will help a lot of people. And exactly that is, I think we need something to empower individuals to show them that, you know, they do have a way to go. And so I just want to thank you very much for your hard work. And you know that I'm a big supporter of you. So, yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate that. Thank you again, Ms. Jelinek. Appreciate that presentation and really appreciate the work that you're doing in the community. Good luck. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution for a letter of support for the Sandpoint Community Resource Center expansion as a federal housing and urban development and vision center. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me pause for a moment. Is there anyone else, anyone in the public that would like to comment on this matter?
There's no one online, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and we have no one present here, it looks like. So we can continue on. We have a motion and a second, and we will now have a roll call vote.
Councilwoman McAllister,
Yes.
Councilman Grote,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rule,
Wanted to thank you for all your hard work and say yes.
Councilman Darling.
Yes.
Great, motion passes. The final item under new business is an ordinance proposing amendments to City Code Title 7, Chapter 7, pertaining to the municipal water system. Infrastructure and Development Services Manager Amanda Wilson will provide a brief presentation for us. Wastewater Plant Supervisor Devin Hull is also available here if we need him for any questions. Thank you, Devin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. This evening, we are requesting your consideration of amendments to Title 7, Chapter 7, which is our municipal sewer code. The purpose of these requested amendments are really three-pronged. The first being that we need to update our current code to be in better alignment with federal and state regulations and our own permit. The second would be a lot of the changes that you see in front of you this evening or proposed amendments are specific recommendations from the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality. And then third, the changes enable us to update our existing permits that we have with industrial users within city limits. There are 3 currently. And so with that said, I think it's worth taking just a slight pause before we get into the weeds of things to provide a couple basic definitions, because I think this may be the first time several in the community have considered what we mean by pretreatment to even begin with. So the definition, since it's a rather technical matter, I'll go ahead and just read the definition of pretreatment. So pretreatment, when we're talking about wastewater treatment and how that affects our overall wastewater treatment plant, the definition is the reduction of the amount of pollutants, the elimination of pollutants, or the alteration of the nature of pollutant properties in wastewater prior to or in lieu of introducing such pollutants into what is called the POTW, basically our wastewater treatment plant. This reduction or alteration can be obtained by physical, chemical, or biological process, by process change, or by other means, except of diluting the concentration of the pollutants unless otherwise allowed by applicable pretreatment standards. So that's a mouthful. That's directly read from our current code definition section within Title 7, Chapter 7. We spend a lot of time on pretreatment. From an inspection perspective, our own staff go out and actually inspect facilities that fall under certain categories. We have specific training and certifications that happen on an annual basis associated with this. And basically what we're trying to do is address industrial users before we actually receive any of their discharges from their own facility. So if we can manage it at that location before it gets to our plant, it's an advantage. With that, I think it can be a little confusing what we mean by a significant industrial user. We have lots of industrial users in town. Why do we have 3 that need a particular permit? The definitions in our code state that a significant industrial discharger is basically one that discharges an average of 25,000 gallons per day or more processed wastewater into our system, or contributes a process waste stream, which makes up 5% or more of the average dry weather hydraulic organic capacity of our treatment plant, or is designed as such by the city, or designated, excuse me, as such by the city on the basis that it has a reasonable potential to adversely affect our plant. Would you like to add anything to that?
No, that's pretty.
Okay, it's pretty technical, but I think it's important to know. So we currently have 3 existing permits with industrial users that meet that category. And again, we inspect them and we have permits. Those permits need updated as a result of a recent compliance inspection that we had by the Department of Environmental Quality. I will say right out of the gate that their findings were 100% administrative. We did not have any discharge violations associated with this. So any reference I say this evening to violations is specifically related to administrative things such as monitoring or language within a permit that needed to be updated. So I just wanted to be really clear on that note. With that said, I think another component that would be helpful to just mention this evening before I open it up to any questions that you may have, because I'm certainly not going to go through every line item of this code this evening, is that the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality recently received primacy over this particular element of our permit. So they now oversee and help do the inspections where it used to be more on a national level and done by the EPA. So we have some new players and they've been really wonderful to work with through this process. I will also note that DEQ reviewed all of the changes that we've proposed to you this evening, and they provided some comments. We incorporated their comments, and so this has been done in partnership with DEQ. With that, I will open it up for any questions that you may have regarding the proposed amendment.
Thank you. Does council have any questions? Yeah.
Sorry, it's all me, right? Are you able to share with us who the SIUs are?
Absolutely. 2 of them are Lighthouse, so the blue cheese plant, and then their their standard plant,
The LF facility.
the LF facility. And then the other is what was formerly referred to as Quest. That's who the permit's actually issued to. It's obviously been subsequently purchased by someone
And
else.
then I have one more question because I'm a nerd. I read the whole thing.
Wow.
I sort of didn't understand. What is a slug load? If it's gross, you don't have to tell me.
I'm going to leave this one to Devin. I think it would be great if you explain what that is.
I read it and I'm like, that's interesting. What is that?
And of course, the acronym escapes me now. Basically, a slug load is kind of like all at once.
Okay.
So like if you had a sewer backup and then sent it all at once. You know, obviously, the old saying of the solution for pollution is dilution. We try not to say that anymore, but you know, more concentrated is obviously a lot harder to treat than less concentrated. So if you send it might be something that if you sent, say 100 gallons over an hour, plant's gonna be fine, but you send the 100 gallons over a matter of minutes and significant harm to the plant.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? All right, thank you for that presentation. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this issue?
No one online, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and no one present, it seems. I will now read the title of the ordinance as follows. An ordinance of the City of Sandpoint, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, amending portions of Chapter 7, Title 7, Chapter Sandpoint City Code pertaining to the municipal water system, providing that this provision shall be deemed severable and that remaining sections of the Sandpoint City Code shall not be affected by a finding that these provisions are unlawful or unenforceable, and providing for publication and an effective date. I will entertain a motion that the ordinance pass its first reading by title only and the summary is approved.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I just want to make a clarification for the record for the title of this ordinance. It's for the municipal sewer system, not the water system.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you. Appreciate that. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Rule,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilwoman McAllister,
Yes.
Councilman Darling,
Yes.
Councilman Groot.
Yes.
The ordinance passes first reading by title only and the summary is approved. I would entertain a motion that the rules requiring 3 separate readings, once in the ordinance's entirety, be suspended and that the ordinance pass its second and third reading under suspension of the rules. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Rule,
Yes.
Councilwoman McAllister,
Yes.
Councilman Groot,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilman Darling.
Yes.
Motion passed and this ordinance is considered read, passed, and adopted under suspension of the rules. The final item on the agenda this evening is an executive session. I would entertain a motion to convene an executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Sections 74-206(1)C and 74-206(F to discuss acquiring an interest in real property not owned by a public agency and communication with legal counsel to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet but imminently likely to be litigated. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rule,
Yes.
Councilman Darling,
Yes.
Councilwoman McAllister,
Yes.
Councilman Groot.
Yes.
Motion passes and the mayor, city council, and legal counsel and relevant staff will now convene an executive session. I would ask that everyone else please leave the chambers. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So just for those participating on Zoom, that concludes the portion of this evening's meeting, and those not participating in executive session will exit chambers, and the Zoom meeting will now end.